Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support means the world to us and helps others discover stories that share clarity and inspiration on the path of self-discovery. Thank you so much. Let's begin.
Chapter 1. The Echo of Meaninglessness. Have you ever woken up in the morning with a weight in your soul, not understanding where it comes from? As if some emptiness has settled inside you, which nothing can fill despite external successes and achievements. Perhaps you look back at your life and ask yourself, what is all this for? What is the meaning of my efforts? This feeling of losing your bearings, the sense of a lack of profound purpose, can arise even when everything seems to be going well. The world around us often dictates its own rules of success: career advancement, material well-being, social recognition. We strive to meet these standards, hoping that achieving these external goals will bring us the long-awaited feeling of satisfaction and meaning. But what happens when we reach what we desire, and the inner emptiness remains? What if the pursuit of external attributes of success does not fill that deep need for something more? Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist and psychotherapist who survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, deeply explored this fundamental question of human existence, the striving for meaning. In his logotherapy, Healing Through Meaning, he argued that the search for and realization of meaning is the primary driving force in a person's life. Like hunger or thirst, our will to meaning is an unquenchable desire to find our reason to live, our unique purpose in this world. Frankl observed that even in the most inhumane conditions, those who maintained faith in the meaning of their existence, whether it was an unfinished task, a loved one to care for, or an inner spiritual value, had a much greater chance of survival, while those who lost all hope and sense of meaning quickly gave up, fading away physically and spiritually. This suggests that the need for meaning is not just a philosophical abstraction, but a deeply rooted biological and psychological necessity. When this need is frustrated, when we feel that our life lacks purpose and significance, it can lead to feelings of apathy, depression, anxiety, and even physical illnesses. The echo of meaninglessness begins to haunt us, poisoning every day we live. But the good news is that meaning is not something ephemeral and unattainable. According to Frankl, meaning can be found always and everywhere, in any circumstances. It is not given to us from the outside, but is discovered by us in our interaction with the world. And today, we will talk about this fascinating search. We will turn to the wisdom of Viktor Frankl to understand what the will to meaning is, what paths exist to its acquisition, and how, even in the face of the most difficult trials, we can find our reason to live. Chapter 2. The Will to Meaning. Man is able to live, even if he has nothing more to lose than life itself, if he knows what he lives for. This profound conviction of Viktor Frankl lies at the heart of his concept of the will to meaning. Unlike Freud's psychoanalysis, which saw the pursuit of pleasure as the basis of human motivation, or Adlerian psychology, which focused on the striving for power, Frankl argued that the fundamental driving force of human life is precisely the need to find and realize meaning. He believed that this will to meaning is innate and unquenchable. Even in the most difficult conditions, when a person is deprived of everything external, this inner need continues to live and demand its satisfaction. When this need is frustrated, when a person feels that their life lacks purpose and significance, it can lead to what Frankl called the existential vacuum, a state of inner emptiness, apathy, and loss of interest in life. The existential vacuum can manifest in different ways. It can be a feeling of boredom, a sense of meaninglessness, even with external well-being, loss of motivation, depressive moods, aggressiveness, or even addiction. Frankl noticed that many neuroses in modern society are the result of precisely this unrealized striving for meaning. A person tries to fill this inner void with something external, material goods, power, pleasures, but these temporary substitutes are unable to satisfy the deep need of the soul. Man is a being who is always directed towards something or someone other than himself, be it a meaning to fulfill or another human being to encounter lovingly. Frankl wrote, "Our inner nature pushes us to go beyond our own ego, to dedicate ourselves to something greater than ourselves. This can be creative activity, caring for loved ones, serving a specific purpose, or simply responsibly fulfilling one's duty. The will to meaning is not just a passive expectation that meaning will somehow arise in our lives. It is an active striving to find this meaning, to recognize the opportunities for its realization that open up before us at every moment in time." Frankl emphasized that meaning is not something subjective and arbitrary. It exists objectively in the external world, and our task is to discover it. Think about your own life. What fills you with a sense of significance and purpose? What makes you wake up every morning with a desire to act? What are your values, your beliefs, your passions? Perhaps the answers to these questions already contain the seeds of your personal meaning. The will to meaning can be temporarily suppressed by external circumstances or internal difficulties, but it never disappears completely. Even in the darkest times, when it seems that everything is lost, a person retains the ability to ask themselves about the meaning of their existence and find an answer to it. It is this inner strength, this unquenchable striving for meaning, that is our main support in life and the source of our ability to overcome any difficulties. Chapter 3. 3 Paths to Meaning. Meaning must be found, not created, Viktor Frankl said, emphasizing that meaning already exists in the world, and our task is to discover it through our interaction with life. He identified 3 main paths through which a person can realize their will to meaning and fill their existence with profound significance: through creativity, through love, and through suffering. The first path to meaning is creativity, or the values of creation. This means finding meaning in what we do, in our work, in our contribution to the world. This can be creating a work of art, writing a book, raising children, developing a business, conducting scientific research, any activity through which we realize our abilities and leave behind something valuable. The meaning of creativity lies not only in the final result, but also in the very process of creation, in the feeling of our own competence and significance that we experience when we put our efforts into something important. Ask yourself, in what activity do you feel most fulfilled? What do you create or participate in that brings you a sense of purpose? The second path to meaning is love, or the values of experience. This means finding meaning in our relationships with other people, in our ability to love and be loved, to care for someone and feel cared for. Love, in the broadest sense of the word, includes not only romantic relationships but also friendship, family ties, compassion, and empathy for others. When we dedicate ourselves to another person, when we see their uniqueness and value, our life is filled with deep meaning. Think about it. Who are the people in your life that you care about and whose lives are important to you? How does your love for them manifest itself? The third path to meaning is suffering, or the values of attitude. This is perhaps the most paradoxical and profound path. Frankl discovered that even in the face of inevitable suffering that we cannot change, we retain the freedom to choose our attitude towards it. The meaning of suffering lies not in the suffering itself, but in how we experience it, what significance we give it, and how we react to it. By courageously accepting our fate, finding in suffering an opportunity for growth, compassion, or spiritual transformation, we can fill even the darkest times with deep meaning and dignity. Recall the most difficult periods of your life. What helped you get through them? What meaning were you able to find in these trials? It is important to understand that these 3 paths to meaning are not mutually exclusive. Throughout life, we can find meaning in various combinations of creativity, love, and attitude towards suffering. Moreover, meaning is not something static and unchanging. It can change depending on our life circumstances and our inner development. Frankl emphasized that meaning is not something subjective that we can arbitrarily invent. Rather, it exists objectively in the potential possibilities that each situation offers us. Our task is to be sensitive to these possibilities and actively realize them. Think about it. Which of these 3 paths to meaning is most relevant to you right now? In which area do you feel the greatest potential for realizing meaning? In your work, in your relationships, or in your attitude towards difficulties? The answer to this question can be an important step on the path to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Chapter 4. The Meaning of the Moment. Don't ask what your life means. Realize that you are the one being asked. This profound thought by Viktor Frankl overturns our usual understanding of the search for meaning. Instead of looking for an abstract answer to the eternal question, we must realize that meaning is not something universal and predetermined. Rather, it arises in specific situations and requires a unique answer, a unique action from us. Frankl emphasized that life constantly poses questions to us, and the meaning lies not in finding ready-made answers to them, but in responsibly responding to the demands of each specific moment. Every situation, every encounter, every task, every problem is a kind of question addressed to us, and our answer lies in how we live that moment, how we act in those circumstances, what significance we attach to them. Imagine you are faced with a person in need of help. The question that this situation poses to you is obvious. How can I help? Your answer is your action, your willingness to lend a helping hand. It is in this moment of your responsible action that the meaning of this situation lies. Or imagine you are faced with a difficult work project. The question that this situation poses to you: how can I cope with this task? Your answer is your perseverance, your creative solution, your applied efforts. The meaning of this situation lies in your responsible attitude towards the challenge. Frankl believed that meaning is not something we can find once and for all. It is dynamic and changeable. It arises and is realized in every specific moment of our lives. Therefore, instead of spending time searching for an abstract, big meaning, we should learn to be attentive to the demands of each day, each hour, each minute. Live as if you were living for the second time and had acted as wrongly the first time as you are about to act now. This one paradoxical imperative of Frankl calls us to maximum responsibility for every choice we make. Imagine that you have already lived through this situation and know its consequences. How would you act now? This thought experiment helps us realize the full importance of our current moment and make the most meaningful decision. The meaning of the moment can be very simple and inconspicuous. It can be a smile to a stranger, a kind word of support, a job well done, an expression of patience and understanding in a difficult situation. It is important to learn to see these opportunities for meaningful action in everyday routine. Frankl emphasized that meaning often lies hidden in the little things, in our attitude towards ordinary things. Even in monotonous work, meaning can be found if we recognize its value to others or see in it an opportunity to develop our skills. Even in a difficult conversation, meaning can be found if we strive for mutual understanding and maintain respect for the other person. Think about today. What questions did life pose to you? How did you answer them? What opportunities for meaningful action did you realize or miss? Recognizing the uniqueness of each moment and our responsibility for our response to its demands is the key to filling our lives with meaning here and now. Chapter 5. Freedom of Will. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. This fundamental conviction of Viktor Frankl, forged in the horrific conditions of a concentration camp, is the cornerstone of logotherapy. Despite external limitations and deprivations, a person always retains inner freedom: the freedom of thought, the freedom to choose one's position, the freedom to determine one's attitude towards what is happening. Frankl was convinced from his own experience that even in a situation where it seems that a person is completely deprived of control over their life, they still possess this inner spiritual freedom. Prisoners in concentration camps, stripped of property, dignity, and basic rights, could still choose how they would react to their suffering. Some broke down, lost all hope, and died, while others found the strength to maintain their humanity, help their fellow prisoners, and even find meaning in their tragic situation. This last human freedom is not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within circumstances. It is the ability of a person to say yes or no to what is happening, to choose their own inner stance, to take a certain attitude towards their fate. It is this freedom that makes us truly human and is the basis for our striving for meaning. Frankl emphasized that meaning is not imposed on us from the outside, but is discovered by us in our free and responsible interaction with the world. Our freedom of will gives us the opportunity to choose how we will react to the demands of each situation, what values we will realize, and what meaning we will give to our lives. However, this freedom is inextricably linked to responsibility. We are free to choose, but we are also responsible for our choices and their consequences. Frankl believed that true freedom is freedom to responsibility. We are not simply free to do whatever we want, but we are obliged to answer for our actions before our own conscience and before the world. Think about those situations in your life when you felt most helpless and out of control. Even in those circumstances, did you have the inner freedom to choose your attitude towards what was happening? How did you use this freedom? Did you allow circumstances to break you? Or did you find the strength to maintain your inner dignity and even find some meaning in your experience? Recognizing our freedom of will is a powerful tool for overcoming feelings of meaninglessness and helplessness. Even when we cannot change external circumstances, we can always change our attitude towards them. We can choose courage instead of despair, hope instead of despondency, love instead of hatred. It is this free choice of our attitude that opens up the possibility for us to find meaning even in the most difficult trials. Frankl gave examples of concentration camp prisoners who, despite hunger, cold, and abuse, found meaning in supporting their comrades, preserving their humanity, or dedicating themselves to memories of loved ones. Their inner freedom allowed them to rise above their suffering and find a unique meaning in it. Realizing our freedom of will and our responsibility for our choices gives us a sense of power and control over our own lives, even in the most unpredictable and difficult situations. It reminds us that we are not just passive victims of circumstances, but active creators of our own destiny, capable of finding meaning in spite of everything. Chapter 6. The Meaning of Suffering. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. This profound truth, discovered by Viktor Frankl in The Crucible of Inhuman Suffering, lies at the heart of his understanding of the meaning of suffering. Unlike the desire to avoid pain at all costs, logotherapy offers a different perspective. Inevitable suffering that we cannot prevent can become not only a trial, but also a source of deep meaning and personal growth. Frankl emphasized that it is not suffering itself that has meaning, but our attitude towards it, our reaction to it, and the significance we attach to it. When we face tragedy, loss, illness, or any other form of unavoidable suffering, we are faced with a choice. We can break down under the weight of circumstances, fall into despair, and become bitter towards the whole world. But we can also accept our fate with courage, find a certain value in our suffering, and even use it as an opportunity for spiritual growth and compassion for others. Frankl gave many examples from the lives of concentration camp prisoners who, despite unbearable conditions, found meaning in their suffering. Some saw meaning in preserving their humanity and dignity to the end. Others found solace in memories of loved ones, or in the hope that their suffering would not be in vain and would serve as a lesson for future generations. Still others found meaning in helping their comrades, sharing their last piece of bread, or supporting their morale. What is demanded of man is not, as some existential philosophers teach, to endure the meaninglessness of life, but rather to bear his incapacity to grasp its unconditional meaningfulness in rational terms. Frankl wrote, "Even in the darkest times, when it seems that all meaning is lost, we can find small but important reasons to continue living and acting. This can be caring for a loved one, fulfilling one's duty, maintaining faith, or simply hoping for the best." The meaning of suffering does not lie in finding some rational cause or justification for it. Often, suffering is irrational and unfair. The meaning lies in how we respond to this suffering, what significance we attach to it, and how we use it for our inner growth and to help others. Think about the most difficult periods of your life. What helped you get through them? What meaning were you able to find in these trials, even in retrospect? Perhaps you became stronger, wiser, more compassionate, Perhaps your experience helped you better understand other people in similar situations. Frankl believed that suffering can become a powerful catalyst for personal growth. By overcoming difficulties, we discover hidden reserves of strength and resilience within ourselves that we never suspected before. We learn to appreciate the simple joys of life and to understand true values more deeply. It is important to remember that the search for meaning in suffering is not masochism and not a call to intentionally inflict pain on oneself. Rather, it is the ability to see the potential for growth and meaning even in the most tragic circumstances, when we cannot avoid pain. It is the choice of our attitude towards the inevitable. Chapter 7. The Temporality of Life. Live as if you were living for the second time and had acted wrongly the first time. This thought by Viktor Frankl, echoing the idea of the meaning of the moment, is also inextricably linked to the awareness of the temporality of our existence. The realization that our life is finite and every moment lived is unique should become a powerful stimulus for the active search and realization of meaning in every day, in every hour, in every one of our actions. Frankl emphasized that the temporality of life should not plunge us into despondency or fear, but rather should spur us to action. If we lived forever, perhaps we could afford to postpone the realization of our goals and values to an indefinite later. But the awareness of the finiteness of our time on earth makes every moment precious and unrepeatable, urging us not to waste it on meaningless bustle or passive waiting. Imagine you were given a train ticket, and you knew that your journey was limited to a certain number of stops. Would you just sit and look out the window, not trying to see anything interesting, not interacting with other passengers, not trying to understand where you are going? Most likely, you would try to make the most of every minute of your trip, filling it with meaning and impressions. Our life is the same kind of journey, and the awareness of its temporality should encourage us to actively explore and fill it with meaning. Frankl compared a person to an artist who was commissioned to paint a picture, but he does not know how much time he has to complete it. Would this artist hesitate and postpone the work for later? Most likely, he would try to put the maximum of his talent and inspiration into every brushstroke. Understanding that time is not endless. Do not postpone until tomorrow what you can do today. This seemingly trivial proverb takes on a special depth in the context of Frankl's philosophy. The awareness of the temporality of life calls us to immediate action, to the realization of our values and meanings here and now. There is no point in waiting for the ideal moment or better circumstances. Meaning can be found and realized in any situation if we are attentive to the demands of the moment and responsible for our choices. Think about your unfulfilled dreams, your postponed plans, those words of love and gratitude that you never said. What is stopping you? Isn't this procrastination a consequence of an unconscious feeling of the infinity of time? The realization that time is relentlessly moving forward should become a powerful impetus for us to act. Frankl believed that the awareness of the temporality of life should not generate fear of death, but on the contrary, should strengthen our love for life and our willingness to live every moment fully and meaningfully. When we understand that our life is limited, we begin to appreciate what we have and strive to use our time most effectively to realize what is truly important to us. Remember that meaning does not await us at the end of the path. It is present in every step, in every choice we make, in every interaction we have with the world and with other people. The awareness of the temporality of life is a call to awakening, to stop living in a state of expectation and to start actively creating our own meaningful life right now. Chapter 8. Find Your Reason. Our journey through the paths of Viktor Frankl's logotherapy has come to an end. We have explored the fundamental human striving for meaning, this unquenchable will to meaning that drives us even in the darkest times. We have seen that meaning is not something abstract and universal, but is discovered by us in specific situations through creativity, love, and our attitude towards inevitable suffering. We have realized that even in the most difficult circumstances, we retain the last human freedom, the freedom to choose our attitude and thereby find meaning. Frankl has convincingly shown us that meaning is not given to us from the outside, is not a gift of fate, or the result of a fortunate coincidence. It is waiting to be discovered by us in our responsible interaction with the world. Every situation, every person, every task, every suffering is a potential opportunity for the realization of meaning. Our task is to be sensitive to these opportunities and boldly take responsibility for our response. We talked about how important it is to be aware of the uniqueness of each moment and actively respond to its demands. We reflected on how even suffering, being inevitable, can become a source of deep meaning and personal growth if we accept it with courage and find value in it. And finally, we realized how important it is to remember the temporality of our lives in order to cherish every moment lived and not postpone the realization of our meanings to an indefinite later. Viktor Frankl's philosophy is not just a set of theoretical concepts. It is a practical guide to a life filled with meaning and purpose, even in the face of the most difficult trials. It reminds us that we are not passive victims of circumstances, but active creators of our own destiny, possessing inner freedom and the ability to find a reason to live in everything we do and experience. So what to do next? How to apply these profound ideas to your own life? Start small. Ask yourself an honest question. What is truly important to me? What values do I want to realize in my life? In which areas? In creativity, in love, in my attitude towards difficulties. Do I feel the greatest potential for meaning? Be attentive to the demands of each moment. Look for opportunities for meaningful action in your daily life. Take responsibility for your choices and for your attitude towards what is happening. Remember that even in the most difficult times, you have the freedom to choose your stance and find meaning in it. Do not be afraid to face inevitable suffering. Accept it with courage and try to learn lessons and find meaning in it. Remember that the temporality of your life is not a reason for despair, but a call to action, to live fully and meaningfully every day. Your meaning in life is not waiting for you somewhere in the distant future. It is present here and now, in every breath you take, in every interaction you have, in every choice you make. Find it, nurture it, live by it, and then the echo of meaninglessness will forever fall silent in your soul.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like if this video resonated with you. Thank you for being with us and for listening till the end. There's so much more here that we hope will inspire and motivate you. With gratitude, until next time.